Hello, my name is Bill Whitaker. I am doing this video about my collection of rocks. I was never a rock collector, but after finding a few beautiful and unique rocks, I was hooked. The oldest thing on earth is rocks. I am a retired firefighter slash inspector, 22 years with the St. John Fire Department and 3 years with the Canadian Air Force, as well as a firefighter. I'm not a geologist, but I am an inspector, and I have done an extensive research into rocks from Earth and rocks from space. Early in my research, I did reach out to many universities, museums, and many other institutions pertaining to meteorites, only to get feedback such as, if they are not attracted to a magnet, they are not a meteorite. They would also refer to there are no holes in meteorites, and it's impossible to find so many. I have found information that not so much as disproves their reasoning, but adds to it. More information truths about meteorites. I need someone who can authenticate and appraise these rocks, and not to be so dependent on a magnet. Take a scientific look at them. Meteorites are more expensive than gold, silver, platinum, and diamonds together. Prices I have seen are for new to Earth meteorites. So how much is it for ancient meteorites? I have close to 3,000 pounds, many to sell and share around. A new to Earth palisite amalak with olivine crystals is attracted to a magnet. The ones I have that I believe to be palisites are not attracted to a magnet. I needed to find out why. I did. Characteristics of meteorites. When I reached out to these places I felt would be able to help, I was wrong. The places I contacted in Canada, only tested one thing: magnetism. That's it. If it was not attracted to a magnet, then it was not a meteorite, so they say. While I have found 19 characteristics of meteorites, the institutions only considered one of the characteristics: magnetism, leaving out so many and losing so many other opportunities that may have presented itself to them. I do believe in second chances, so contact me. Characteristics of meteorites that I found are: they are a solid rock type, magnetism, fusion crust, snakeskin texture, density, holes in meteorites, shapes, blue, brown, cleavage, gold, olivine crystals, reddish colors, windows that are natural, thumbprints, flow lines, still evolving, nickel and iron, and scratch tests. Magnetism. Let's go over some characteristics of meteorites and look at some rocks to help identify each. Facts I did find about magnetism in meteorites: new to Earth meteorites have a 95% chance of attracting a magnet, leaving a 5% chance it will not attract a magnet. With ancient meteorites, over 2,000 years old on Earth, they will have dissipated its iron content over time to a point where it will no longer attract a magnet. I do have a category that is still attracted to a magnet. Fusion crust and snakeskin texture is another fact about meteorites. It is called fusion crust, which is created when a meteorite enters our atmosphere at a very fast rate, creating a hot area in front of this cold rock, burning the outer layer, leaving a blackened look to the meteorite. This is called the fusion crust. It is a very thin layer and will be the first thing to dissipate, getting less and less crust over time, only to reveal what lies beneath this crust. Snakeskin texture. Beneath the fusion crust, you will find a rough texture created from the journey through our atmosphere, changing its what would have been a smoother surface before the meteorite enters our atmosphere, where it encounters the speed and heat needed to create this rough appearance they call snakeskin texture. A meteorite that is brought back to Earth on a spaceship will not have these two things, fusion crust or snakeskin texture. Density. Density for Earth rocks is between 1 and 2. The density for slag is 2.5 to 3. The density for meteorites is between 3 and 4. I have done a density test to approximately 55 rocks, and 100% have fallen in the meteorite category. The lowest density was a 3.4, and the highest density was a 4. There is an iron ore that does have the same density as meteorites, but after investigating further, these rocks, the iron ore, have no fusion crust or snakeskin texture. Holes in meteorites. Some believe that meteorites have no holes in them. This is not the whole truth. When dealing with new-to-Earth meteorites, there may not be so much as holes. But when you are dealing with ancient meteorites, your chance of seeing holes or voids is greater. After a long period of time, elements within the meteorite will dissipate over time to a point there is no more elements, only leaving a void, looking like a hole. I do have a few meteorites that do have a small hole completely through them. All the rocks are of a solid rock type with rounded edges, unless there is evidence of a broken off piece, leaving a sharp edge. All the rocks show trace amount of fusion crust. All have what I believe to be snakeskin texture. The lack of complete coverage of fusion crust shows me age. Holes show me age. Lack of attraction to a magnet shows me age. Blue on a meteorite shows a meteorite which has broken apart in mid-air before it hits the ground. Where the meteorite breaks apart may turn a blue, which I believe to be because the breakage reveals a fresh surface exposed to the high heat and speed of the meteorite going before it hits the ground. This is a different blue than the blue crystals, which I will show you later. Brown. I have read that when a rock has diminished its iron content to the point there is no iron content left, therefore it will no longer attract to a magnet. This is another sign of old age in a rock. The rock turns to a brownish color. Cleavage in a rock is when a rock has two sides that are 90 degrees with each other. We will see more of these in the next video. There seems to be a lot of something that resembles gold. Some are in a dot shape. I believe these are called olivine crystals, and others show a more solid piece of the rock showing all gold. Olivine from Earth looks like this, a solid color. The crystals come in different colors such as yellow, green, pink, violet, and blue, with various degrees of each color. The solid gold seems to be either yellow gold or pinkish gold, all having the proper density for meteorites. Windows. A window in a meteorite occurs when a breakage from could be a collision with other meteorites or maybe impact with the Earth. After this breakage occurs, it reveals a window to the inside of the meteorite. The ones that I have all show a solid yellow or pinkish gold throughout the rock interior. Thumbprints and flow lines. Thumbprints and flow lines are both created from the heat and pressure created against the meteorite during its journey from space into our atmosphere for a brief trip across our sky before it lands on the Earth. The heat and pressure will create the flow lines as it travels across our sky. Still evolving. When I find these meteorites, they are briefly on the surface of the beach, only to be covered again with the next high tide to come in. But each tide change also gives you a new top to search for other meteorites to show themselves. After first finding them, I find the gold in them, mostly the solid gold and not as much with the crystals. It will darken down to a sparkling brownish color, which also is an indicator of age. You can still see the color of gold inside it. Nickel and iron. A lot of planets have a core that is made of nickel and iron, along with other elements. Many other planets, asteroids, and sometimes have the same makeup to the core as we do. I can see evidence of nickel and iron in many of these hopeful meteorites. A scratch test. A scratch test with a meteorite and a ceramic tile, the unfinished side. A meteorite will not leave a colored scratch, only a scratch. The Late Great Bombardment. The Late Great Bombardment was an event that happened way back 4.5 billion years ago. They believe it to be a collision between Jupiter and the Moon. The impact was merely seconds, but the blowout lasted for eons, thousands of years. It rained meteorites, not water, down on Earth for thousands of years, slowly building up a thickness to our Earth. This is a thought to why I am finding so many of these rocks. Or are they the rocks finding me? They are out there. Canadian law pertaining to meteorites states that on private lands, whoever owns the land owns the meteorite. On public lands, anything on top of the earth belongs to the public. Finders keepers. But if you were to dig down 6 to 8 inches on the public land, now it will belong to the government. Every rock, 100%, I have found on top of the ground, visible to the naked eye. I have no metal detector, and for the most part, a metal detector will not detect most of these rocks. I don't need a shovel, as they are on top of the earth when I find them, or they find me. Canadian law also states I can sell to anyone within Canada. If I want to sell outside of Canada, I first must contact the government agency, whom I won't name at this time, because I did contact this organization way back early on in my investigation. Their response was, "That is impossible, it must be slag." Well, now I believe I can say these rocks are not slag. Because a slag doesn't have fusion crust, nor snakeskin texture, or the density. I do welcome all who are interested in helping me with the task of identifying these rocks. So now after going over these rocks with you, hopefully now someone out there will contact me. I need someone who can see past the magnetism and look at all the other characteristics of the rocks that they do have. Then can they authenticate and appraise. There is lots of rocks to go around, as I have approximately 3,000 pounds, all having the same characteristics as ancient meteorites. Trace fusion crust, snakeskin texture, density, and much more. Thank you for your time. Please like and share this video with someone. Have a great day. I will do a second episode. So if you see a rock you want, send me an offer. Now I will pause and get set up to have a closer look at these rocks, the stars of the show. This is at the end of part 1. Thank you.